So I'm sure y'all have heard the Trump administration rolled out a key item in its hardline immigration agenda that had been months in the making, issuing a sweeping rule on Monday that targets legal immigrants who use welfare benefits like food stamps and government subsidizing housing. Joining us on 710 KURV's Pallavi Ahluwalia, who is an immigration attorney up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, who's gone through the process herself. Pallavi, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Are you busy right now because of these new rules?
Yes, it is causing a lot of concern, especially amongst the legal immigrant communities, because this will impact the ones that once in a while have to reach out and ask for federal assistance. It could be for different things, for Medicaid. They could have taken some housing assistance. So this would cover the poor immigrants in the country, but who are still following a legal path. So yes, we have some impacted people that we've been talking to.
This is Davis Rankin. I want to find out some facts. I always believed that to be here, I'm not sure how to phrase it, to be here, you could not be on public assistance. It used to be you had to have a sponsor. Sponsor, I believed was so if you needed money, that's what they were there for. I don't know whether that's true or not, or if it disappeared, or what is the truth?
No. The sponsor requirement, the sponsor requirements are still there. So, say, for example, an individual is sponsoring their spouse, and it were to happen that they have to be under the poverty guidelines. So basically, they have to make a living wage for two people, say, for example, their husband and wife, and that is about $20,000 or so per year to be able to sponsor someone. So that's there. But this one is for other people that who once in a while have tapped into or will tap into some resources. Maybe they have a pending case and they have a kid who needs, and for that they have tapped into some other resources. They lost a job, had some bad stuff happen. I'm not talking about the U.S. citizen, but the other adjusting member, changing member who is changing their status, and they had to get some assistance. Now, going forward, that's going to be an issue. The poor will not be helped.
How are you allowed to get social welfare benefits of any sort if you were here illegally?
Well, no, you can't.
There
may be some
papers?
states. Yeah, no, you can't. So some states do have their local programs. California may have some. There's different states that they're not looking at the immigration status before they're giving them any benefits. But federal benefits are not to be taken by people who are not present here with no documents. So basically, if you don't have immigration status in the country, then you can't even apply for anything.
So what if? Hold on. What about those that are asylum seekers? For example, those that are crossing our borders right now, they cross the border illegally, but once they go through the processing, they have legal status, so they can now request assistance.
No.
If that were to be the case, and they have an employment authorization document and they have some legal status in the country, then yes, they would be. Earlier could have been able to accept assistance.
I'm trying to understand, because those that are currently crossing our border right now, that have crossed this past year and a half, again, they're crossing illegally, but once they claim asylum, that's not illegal to claim asylum. They get processed, and then now they have legal status. So I'm trying to see if those people are.
They have a long way, though, Roxanne. They have a long way before they would be getting to the point where they are even recognized as they're in deportation proceedings after they land and present themselves for asylum. It's not like they're defending deportation at that point. They're defending it by claiming asylum, but they're still in deportation proceedings. They just don't walk up to a federal, Medicaid office and apply for Medicaid. They just can't. They can't.
Okay.
And
even
so
though
most
they
of them
have legal
yeah, especially the ones that are coming in are not that, let's say, they're not that demanding when they come in. They're not here for federal benefits. They're here for status. They've escaped something that's been really harsh for them, and they're here. They're just barely glad to be able to come here, and if they work some, cash job somewhere or the other. But it's not like they're walking into a Social Security or a federal benefit center and asking for some benefits. They just don't even have those abilities.
But I just wanted to make it clear, because if they have legal status, then even though it takes maybe 5 years or longer to finally be seen by a judge, would they have the possibility to claim benefits? But you're saying no, because they have the deportation hearings.
Correct. I don't think that they can. If they have in the past, based on some employment authorization document that they have, and they've been able to qualify, I mean, I'd be surprised if they have. I think it's the small kids or, people, say, for example, someone claims it, but it may be for a U.S. citizen who's born here instead of being born abroad, but they are still illegal themselves, right? And that's even being termed under this whole aegis of saying that they've claimed federal benefits, but no, that benefit is coming from maybe that child that was born here.
What about their children in general, even if they're not born here? Can the child get some sort of help?
So I don't know how the benefits actually work out. Honestly, that's something that I would struggle with in understanding. But all I can tell you is that it's not. We don't see any of the clients that have come in here illegally that are running to go get benefits. First of all, if they're not present here legally, they're not submitting themselves to any federal authority for any ID. Okay, so they're not trying to come and register themselves in the system where they can be spotted at all. So there is a big hype about this, but that's partially not correct.
Okay.
So do you think that there will be many people negatively affected by this?
Yes, I would say the genuine ones that are here that have, a path to a legal adjustment into the country. They're not illegal. They've even been contributors into the economy by paying taxes, may fall into bad times. I had a client who was an engineer who had a child born with some, birth defect that required some assistance. And so, I mean, they lost a job for a bit. He, I think, recovered later on after he consulted with us and said, no federal benefits. Do not do this. Because at that time, this rule was in the making, and we were really wondering if it would really protect people like that. So I don't think that the U.S. citizen children born here should be impacted by this. I think there is an exclusion, but again, it's a 864-page document that I haven't parsed through completely. I have to admit, and I've been reading through it as over the last.
Don't you have staff for that? Or don't you have a
interns?
Like a son who wants to be a lawyer? You can make him read this thing.
We'll do it for you, Pallavi.
Just give me the talking points. Yes.
So, is it fair to say you view this as mostly political as opposed to practical?
I think this is part of the wall. This is part of the wall. It's to keep the immigrants out. It takes away from the Statue of Liberty's promise to give us the tired, the poor, the huddled masses.
Hey,
I think it just does go away from that. So it is a little disheartening from that standpoint. I can look at it from two standpoints as I analyze it, or as I look at it as an attorney. I can see a country trying to prevent its resources from being drained. I look at that, but I also look at it to see practically is it that being done or not, and if you should make an exception for once in a while somebody falling. If you see a pattern of anything, of course it's concerning. But is that the effort here, or is it more to make it tougher for the poor people to immigrate to the U.S.?
All right, Pallavi, thank you
ma'am.
so much. Always a pleasure. That's Pallavi Ahluwalia, an immigration attorney, our guest on News Talk 710 KURV.